Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest live episode of VOX VOMITUS. I'm your host, Jennifer Ann Gordon, the author of Pretty Ugly, the Hotel series, and the Japanese Box and Other Stories. Joining me today, as always, is my VOX VOMITUS vixen, Allison Martine, author of the Bourbon Books, which, if you have not seen them recently, have recently gotten a glow up. Those books include Dibs Since September, Move on Melinda, and Climb the Salmon Ladder, all with brand new shiny covers. And speaking of covers, we are here today with Lindy Ryan, the author of Bless Your Heart. And I'm going to try not to knock everything over. I'm doing my best to cosplay is this fantastic cover. No, I can't see anything.
Yeah, I went with like the color scheme. I don't have multiple glasses because unlike Jennifer, I actually wear mine to see, not just because she's trying to match covers. And
I have so many glasses, yeah. And they're all over my house. Like 5 pairs in every room.
Are just probably they're costume pieces. Probably half of them don't actually have anything in.
These are costumes. These are real. To be fair. So Lindy, welcome to VOX VOMITUS. Thank you so much for being here. Tell our viewers and our listeners a little bit about you and then a little bit about Bless Your Heart and why Allison and I are here with a bunch of candy.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me. I am Lindy Ryan, the author of books like Bless Your Heart and its next up sequel, Another Fine Mess, which will be out next year. And also, I'm also an anthologist. So I have an upcoming anthology called The Darkest Night, featuring many of your favorite household name horror authors. And just released Mother Knows Best earlier this month, just in time for celebrating mom. But it's wonderful to be here. Thank you both for having me. And we'll talk about the Evans ladies and their penchant for butterscotch and sharp, pointy, slicey objects.
I love
Not the butterscotch. Those are two different spectrums of items.
To be fair, yeah, there are no sharp, shiny objects in the candy. This is not like a 1980s like Halloween scare where it's like there's needles in the candy bars.
Not yet. Not again.
Not again. So we are obsessed with Bless Your Heart. We're obsessed with the Evans ladies.
I can't actually eat that on the show. I can't eat my mouthful. I had to take that out. Sorry about that, guys.
I was thinking that. I'm like, how am I going to do this? I guess I'm just going to have to keep lifting them up and being like.
It was a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be till I put it in my mouth. And I'm like, I can't even side pocket chipmunk this. I can't do this the whole time, so I'm going to have to put it out. Sorry.
That's fair.
So let's do like elevator pitch. Tell us a little blurb about Bless Your Heart, because Allison and I have already read it. We want everybody else to read the first.
I listened to it. So mine was on. Oh, even my phone matches the cover. Look at that. Oh, I can help everybody on there. That's fun.
Okay. Bless Your Heart follows the Evans women, 4 generations of a family tasked with keeping dead things buried in their small Southeast Texas town. They run the town's only funeral parlor, which helps them, keep an eye out for dead that might, not be ready to stay in the ground just yet.
Get down there, young man.
Get back to bed. Yeah. So we've got our family's matriarch, Ducey Evans, who's about 80, her daughter, Lenore's daughter, Grace, and Grace's daughter, Luna. So a lot of generations with very different motives, very different perceptions of the family business, and very different lives trying to all coexist in 1999 Southeast Texas, which is where I'm from. So I feel like I write with authority on 1999 Southeast Texas.
And you did let us know that you did have your grandmother, or did you say great grandmother, was also named Ducey? So
you didn't just make that up, because we would have thought,
where did you come up with that? Are you a monster hunter, Lindy?
No. She says non. She says,
but don't you have a weapon near you? Don't you have a monster killing weapon near you?
This one?
Yeah, these are actually. The circumstantial evidence here is pointing towards.
I know, it's damning, really.
That, and Lindy, you're sitting very strategically, but if you lean a little to the left and a little to the right, we can see a skeleton literally in your closet. So I'm saying, like,
there he is.
That's a little damning too. But whatever.
That is my writing assistant, ladies.
I don't have an assistant. I should get an assistant.
Oh,
He's very helpful.
Allison, I have an
I don't have any creepy objects in my house because it would freak out my children. I couldn't even get them with hot dog fingers without scaring Fiona. Anyway, go on.
So the Evans women are very much inspired by my actual mother, grandmother, and great grandmother, who, yes, her name or her nickname, as Ducey's is in the book, was Ducey. So she also liked butterscotches. She, I think, never ever in her life did she go without a pocket full of like Werther's originals and Harlequin romance novels in her apron pockets. Less trocars, but you know, girls got to do
that she
right?
showed you,
right? That I know about. I mean,
exactly. Much like you, maybe your grandma has skeletons in her closet, literally, figuratively. My grandmother always had butterscotch in her pocket, but she smelled like butterscotch and gin. So it was a strange combo.
Butterscotch and gin. You know, I've smelled worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, not your usual granny scent, that's for sure.
No. But a very distinct smell, though.
Honestly, it makes me want to bring back wearing aprons all the time because they have pockets, and a lot of our clothing just doesn't have adequate pockets. So if we have places to stick our candies, our phones, our weapons, that's really handy. I like it.
I am a big fan of pockets, and I know that thankfully, like the women's clothing movement has been very pro pocket lately. Pockets! Finally. So, but I've discovered recently granny core, this kind of like aesthetic known as granny core, which is very vintage, very into.
Nice. I know cottage core, but granny core is new to me.
Granny core sounds more comfortable even than cottage core.
Can we wear curlers out and like a bonnet? I like that. Like the idea of just tying up my hair.
It's like the elder goth granny core. Like,
oh, I feel like that's just who I am.
I think that's all of the goths. We've all gotten old, and now it's like we didn't mean to be elder.
Did you know that today is World Goth Day?
No. Do I need to text my sister and wish her happy Goth Day?
You do.
Okay, Dana, if you're watching, happy Goth Day.
I know. So this is perfect.
Happy World Goth Day, ladies.
we moved it, and we thought it was because that you weren't feeling well, but it was really for goth reasons. So
it was. This worked out well. I know. I've started getting these kaleidoscope migraines. I don't know if either of you've ever had them.
No, that sounds horrible. I've had migraines, but they are not entertaining.
I know. When you told me you were seeing like rainbow prisms, I'm like,
that's not good.
That's not good, Lindy.
Yeah, it's not great. No. It's but I mean it looks like you're kind of looking through a kaleidoscope. You get this like the colorful track around your eyes, and it happens with your eye strain or eye stress. And I've been doing a lot of writing lately and a lot of time in front of my screen. So I'm onto blue light glasses and that sort of thing to try to help that. So you just kind of have to ride the wave. Like they're not super painful for me, but they definitely mean I can't see anything.
Right. Yeah.
Well, we're glad you were able to reschedule, and I'm sorry you were seeing a reading rainbow. That's not.
I know.
That's LeVar Burton list.
It's a sad reading rainbow.
Sad.
I know. It's not like a double rainbow level of enthusiasm whatsoever, but
no.
So, Lindy, what made you want to set the book in 1999, which I was so thrilled about as like a 90s girl?
Yeah, I think that's why. Like, I think I have this.
Remember when I was young?
I remember vaguely.
I don't think it was a conscious decision. I think it was like I want to write about, because I started the book as kind of an exercise in letting go of my grandmothers who had both passed away kind of recently. And as I was thinking about like my best moments with my family, I kept going back to like high school years. And, you know, when I was like, I mentioned earlier, I haven't lived in Texas in a long time, but I did then. So I don't know, it just felt right. But I also think I just have a penchant for 90s everything.
It's more fun than the modern era, personally. Like reading all that brought me back to like, I just recently graduated high school at that point, but you brought that to life. And honestly, I like it when people weren't glued to cell phones and we didn't have like the technology cluttering everything up.
I think it really helps in horror too, in history, to not have a cell phone to be like, hey, Ducey, there's a monster, there's like a dead person, blah, blah, blah. Like you have to
show up with the car. You can't just call and say, by the way, don't answer the door.
I know, you're like, some undead person's knocking. YOLO, right? I can't do it.
YOLO or not.
YOLO or not. You'll know. I don't know. I'll get lost. I don't know. I finished my I finished the standalone book that comes out in 2026. That's a feminist slasher. But even though it has some flashbacks to the 90s, it's set in modern day. And, you know, one of the big tropes is slashers is the technology dies.
It has to.
And I was like,
that's the first thing that has to go before the girl gonna dies. Her phone's gotta die too.
Phone's gotta die first. Like, it's, you know, ominous thing when your cell phone battery dies. And I'm like, you know, this is why I love writing in the 90s. We don't have cell phones. But did you have pagers? Because I had a pager.
I used to page, like my boyfriend and I at the time, who I stupidly married and then got divorced from. We had like the codes, because that way you could do like 143 means I love you. So you didn't actually have, it's like texting, but a code. We thought we were cool. We were not cool.
I remember I think you were cool, because I had friends who were pager cool. So I knew the
deal
codes,
drugs, Jennifer.
But
they dealt drugs.
I didn't have a boyfriend to text those things to, so it didn't matter. I was probably a lot like and now I'm
Luna?
totally blanking.
Luna.
No, not like Luna, like her new friend.
Oh, Crane?
Yes.
Oh, you were like him?
Yeah.
You would have wanted to date him. Who are we kidding?
I would have.
You would have totally dated him.
So yeah, you introduced Crane, and immediately I think I texted Allison like, I love this
We love
boy.
Crane.
Like,
I love Crane. You know,
Crane.
Crane is like the embodiment of all of like the guys I knew in high school, like the cool ones, right? And as a matter of fact, when I was writing Crane, I reached out to a friend of mine from high school who was like our king of the goths. And I'm like, hey, so if I said to you, you know, this, how would you respond? Like, be your teenage self. And he would tell me, and I'd be like, oh my God, it's unbearable.
Perfect.
I have to say, I like screamed out loud during the like magic with a K. I'm like,
with a K.
I'm like,
we
oh
know
my
those
God.
guys. We all knew those guys. The one who were wearing their trench coats and they were so cool. It's like, dude, we're in Southern California. It is way too hot for that. Who are you kidding right now? But let's cool.
So they were so cool, and then like you sweep them out behind you like a little
like
a vampire cape.
Yep.
Oh. And I was just like in my dad's flannels, like just moping with like, you know, manic panic hair, looking at those guys going, oh, I wish I had a pager so I could text 146 them.
Right. I know, it's the best memories, truly. But I loved writing Crane because he was completely intolerable. But you just,
and we're still like, but we love him.
Exactly. Everything he said, I'm like, oh God, I would have dated him.
Well, and so that isn't Luna's boyfriend, at least when the story starts. She has a different guy, and I even want like a novella of how these two got together, because I'm just like, I don't know if this is the right guy for you, honestly. We should sit down and have a talk.
Honestly, Andy seems pretty terrible.
Yeah,
I wasn't going to say that. But
I feel like Crane's the boyfriend you want, and Andy is the boyfriend you had, who you're like, I'm pretty sure he's cheating on me, and he hasn't called me in a week, but I love him because we're in high school.
Yeah. I mean, no one ever said horror couldn't be like wish fulfillment, right? Like you can just go back and like write the best high school boyfriend ever. But yeah, Luna's romance. I mean, I think there's a line in there. I think Grace says it, but she says, love isn't a curse, or love isn't a cure for the Evans women. It's a curse, right? And they all have these like tragically horrible failed romances. And it's a little delightful and sort of relatable. But I think we've all been there, like at various stages of our lives with kind of like our partners. And so I enjoy. So
why is she wearing my boyfriend's sweatshirt? Excuse me, Marisa. That's not your boyfriend's sweatshirt. Excuse me. Sorry, I got distracted there. Go on. But yeah,
it all came too real.
Yeah, I was like,
4 generations of women, and none of them have a man around. That's like a little suspicious. And I'm just like, what? Okay, either they're smart or bad things are happening, and it's kind of a bit of both.
It's both. And I like that they all had different, complicated, messy relationships. So it wasn't all like, oh, they all have the same curse where
they all die
and they die.
The end.
It's like, no, we've got like frenemy things going on. We just have like awkwardness.
Guy likes her. She's like, yeah, I'm aware of that, but I'm not.
It's like Roger. You know what's really funny is I was writing this book and my mom was very well aware that the 4 generations were kind of modeled after our family. And you know,
so did she become Grace? And is she like okay with that?
No, she's not. She was like, oh, you know, because Ducey had my Papa Royce, and in the book, Ducey has her late husband who she loved, and
His name was
Lenore
Quill,
had
wasn't he?
Jimmy.
Yeah, you just.
That is a lot of family names.
I love it. I do
Family
the
names.
same thing.
They just went in here, and then I told my mom started reading drafts, and she read about Roger, and she was like, "Don't you dare make Grace hook up with Roger." I'm like, Grace has a love. She's not into Roger.
Yeah.
And
Tell Roger that.
Roger needs to understand that. And I don't think he really
and
does for a long
and
time.
The pastries and the. Man.
I know, poor Roger.
I did like reading about the pastries. I'm always happy when food is
I
included.
did too. I was starving. I'm just like, I want a donut.
But then also, how do you spell, ears, I listened to this. How do you spell your Lenore? Because I have an Aunt Lenore who may be in one of my books. I don't know. But I don't think hers is spelled the same, because is she short for an Eleanor?
No, she's a Lenore. So she's Lenore.
Okay, mine's OIR. I don't know if that's French or what, or if I've just been spelling my name wrong for years. I know.
Very New Orleans.
It is.
My name's Lenore.
I like it.
So I don't really understand what my grandparents were doing there. That's okay.
Yeah, Lenore got her name from Poe, and Mina got her name from Stoker. So I wanted to kind of bring in, along with all the funny family names, because pretty much all of them are pretty real. My mom's name is not Grace, but that's her nickname because she has none. My mom is the clumsiest person in the world.
Your mom's mad at this book.
No,
sorry,
she's
Lindy's
so
mom.
clumsy and so klutzy. It's okay, Mom, I love you. And but she's in on the joke, so it's fine. But
did your mom set alarms on your bedroom windows in high school to keep you in?
No, but we did live upstairs, so I guess it was less of a flight risk. No, my mom had other tactics. That darn pager was one, because I got it and I'm like, I am so cool now, and it was purple and I wore it on the outside of my pants. Yep. But then I realized very quickly that I was so cool. But I realized quickly it was a leash. Exactly. If that pager went off and I didn't call her within 30 minutes, I was grounded for
ever. You're still grounded, aren't you?
I'm absolutely still serving a sentence.
That's why my ex ended up having his, because he was somewhere he wasn't supposed to be, my dorm room. And she's like, I need to be able to get a hold of you when I want to get a hold of you. So she made him get a pager. He was a 20-year-old man, and they made him get a pager.
Oh,
I feel like he's not my mother-in-law anymore.
But my mom never gave me a quarter, which seemed like an unfinished problem. Like if she gave me the pager and I was required to call within 30 minutes of a page,
you didn't have a quarter to call. What are we gonna do?
Payphone life. What am I supposed to do? She didn't really see that problem the same way.
You could have done the calling collect, where
that's what we did.
Like that's what we did. That too. I was just like,
oh my god, do you remember the calling cards you could buy? Like those little prepaid calling.
We never used those, because my mom would have to pick me up from things like swim and all that, and I would never have change, because usually I was barely wearing anything. I'm just standing there in a parka, and I'd pick up and go like, Mom, I'm done with swim, bye. And then once she accepted the call, she'd know to come get me, because I'd be standing there in my parka and dripping, going
like an inmate.
Yeah, like an inmate going, somebody please get me from somewhere, because I'm standing here like a 16-year-old girl.
My one call. Yeah.
I remember going on like a vacation with friends in high school, and my parents like giving me a calling card, because they were like,
they let you do that?
Yeah.
Mine would never let me do that. Mine let me go to Brazil. I'm not sure that was such a good idea, because I didn't.
Mine let me go to Belize, and that was not a good idea.
I was not even allowed to go to summer camp. So
I wasn't allowed to go to summer camp either.
No, because I was bad. I got in trouble all the time. And the one time I remember not getting in trouble, I got gum in my hair. So I came home from summer camp with this like we had been through peanut butter and mayonnaise and
oil. What else did they try?
Oil.
Oh,
so
nothing.
Many things. So there's a really excellent picture of me going into the next school year. My hair is this short. It's like almost as long as like the cool bangs I had, So there was this like vertical area.
Amazing.
Because and after that it was like, I think maybe summer camp's not for you, because you come home in trouble and or mostly bald. And I had long hair my entire childhood.
Did you come home with any piercings? Because my sister was piercing other people's ears.
No,
but like a prison tattoo.
No, but I did. I remember the other girls in my cabin were always so much cooler than I was, and I always wanted to be like.
Were you in my sister's cabin? Because that sounds like it. Because I wasn't. Your sister, cool kid. She was the cool one.
There was this one girl one year who had like these dope ass Betty Page bangs, and I was like,
to have those.
And I wanted them so bad. And I have bangs right now, and they're like, it's not in my cards. So I was trying to curl my own hair with like, a curling iron, and I didn't know how these products worked. And so I ended up burning
all
of it. So then I had this cool little mohawk. Yeah. So then I got bangs cut, like pulled from the back. I looked like I was like 4.
We need pictures of all of this.
I need pictures of all of that. When I was 16, I went to a coffee house in another town. So we took a friend's parents' car to go someplace where like 20-year-old boys hung out.
Grown-ups. We weren't drinking coffee. Like, remember when coffee was actually taboo for children? And now my kids are like, where's my Frappuccino?
On the way home, I tossed my cigarette out the window, and it came back and lit my hair on fire.
Oh my God.
So I came home, similar to the gum thing, with burned hair.
Smells like tobacco.
Smelling like a cigarette.
That's teen spirit, all right.
No,
my parents were like, I thought you were at the mall. And I'm like, oh,
weird things happened at the mall. There was a tragedy. I'm okay.
Oh, I think I made up the dumbest excuse, and then I immediately got grounded.
Yeah, because if you would have given an excuse, you would have gotten away with it. No, my sister had greasy bangs, but her best friend Jean, if you're watching, she had like the perfect bangs. Who like always like perfect. Now she wears her hair like about this short all the way around, so I don't think she has bangs anymore. But she still rocked them.
I always wanted bangs.
These are our elder goths, and we must respect them. But heck, you even named some of your characters after the original elder goths with like Lenore and Mina. Those are like, salute them.
I really I wanted to, kind of mesh, because my family has some weird names. I mean, in the next book, you'll meet Ducey's mother, or not meet, but she becomes a little bit more on the page. Ducey's mother, Pie, who I was telling you.
Ducey's mother, Pie, who's 150 years old.
She's a spry.
Some math, which I was not happy about, because I was doing if Luna is this old, and her mom was how old is, like, I was trying to, when I was first reading it, I was trying to remember which order they came in, and I remember Ducey's the oldest, and then I was getting Lenore and Grace mixed up.
I wanted a family
math.
tree.
Like, how are they all still alive? But it also helps when they all have kids, like at 20. So,
which
it happens.
I actually built a family tree. Is an excellent idea. I built, because I'm a data science professor, like by day, so like super nerd. So
you can do the math.
She's smart.
I can.
Allison,
we're gonna call Lindy when we need to math in the future, because between the two of us, we can't math at all.
I mean, you can call. I can't guarantee I can help, but I built the whole family tree. So yeah. I don't know what we're talking about anymore, but yeah, those are all the generations.
Yeah, trying to fit the ages in. I'm like,
so Ducey's 80 in 99. Yeah. Lenore is in her 50s. Grace
is in her 30s,
late 30s, and Luna is 15.
Yeah.
So, which is, I actually had to take my family, since I used my women or my family. I was like, what year was Nana born in?
How old are you again? And then your grandmother just hangs up. I'm not talking to you. I'm not telling you that.
It's like, it was really tragically funny. Is my grandmother, who passed away in 2014, my Nana Lenore, she was really big into genealogy, but she had zero tech skills. So she
has like a giant log book.
Oh dear. Yeah.
Not one. I inherited all the genealogy research when she passed away. And I've got a photo, and it's me sitting on storage buckets, surrounded by other storage buckets of paperwork. And I kid you not, the same paperwork in not even triplicate. It was like 10 copies of each pedigree chart.
Why was it so many boxes?
Why is she doing that?
How big is your family?
I guess she was very careful about redundancy. I think she's like, in case I lose one copy, I've got 37 more in the top.
I got another bucket.
I got another bucket of copies. Out of control. And I scanned it, and I pulled it down, and now it's like a binder. But like,
that's all there was. There was this.
It was like this. And I input most of it into like ancestry.com or something, and used the tools to build things out. But it came in really handy, because as I was going through, I'm like, I need a name for this character, or I need a name for this victim or whatever. I would just go into the family tree and be like, that's a weird name. I'm gonna go with you, and write it in.
I love it.
So,
I just found that Allison and killed them again.
Was your family in the funeral business? Like, because you seem to know you know, a lot about the goings on
No,
at a funeral
but
home.
you know-
Allison's worked at one, so she's like,
I've worked at one. We have family friends that it was their family business. I'm pretty sure Luttrell's, that was what they did, and like they would party over at the funeral home. I'm like, I think I'm glad I wasn't born yet for any of that. And one of my family's good friends, it was very helpful when my mom died. He was there, like he knew exactly how to do all this stuff. But unless they've changed it, Melrose Abbey's code is 1492 to get out of the cemetery at the middle of the night. I just shared that publicly.
Good to have in
I'm
your
gonna go
back
grave
pocket.
robbing.
Yeah,
It's fine.
good to
It's
know.
good. I'm sure they've changed it. I haven't worked there in like 30 years.
Hopefully they've changed it. Maybe upgraded their security system also.
Yeah.
Just
Probably not. Seriously, what are they protecting?
grave robbers.
Yeah, well,
robbers.
exactly. Like seriously, that's
They
I
don't want the
know this one-
teenagers having sex in the graveyard at night.
Jennifer.
That was during the day.
Oh, okay. Totally different.
Obviously.
No, where I live
Dumb.
right now, like we actually live
I'm
really
classy.
close to some cemeteries, and they're always open and they're always really vibrant because we have a lot of Hispanic communities around. So we've got a lot of people who are like they have full on flowers all the time and people sitting there and having picnics. And it's like this is like the happening place to be, but technically I'm sure they lock it up at night. I don't usually drive by there or at least check to see if it's open at night. I'll try the code. 1492 might work.
Yeah,
everywhere.
try the code, see what happens.
It's not the same
Maybe
place.
it's
No,
a universal graveyard code.
Could be. I don't know. They just told us
I-
1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. That's how you get out at night. I'm like, okay, good to know.
I mean, I guess if you're yeah. I mean, it sticks.
But I had
Definitely
to like
sticks.
learn all the lingo, like a columbarium, and then you see like the little baby coffins. And I'm like, I don't like this part of the job. I'd rather just bother people at home because I was honestly like a funeral appointment prearranger setter. Mostly, I just got hung up on all day long. It was not the best job I've ever had to do.
I applied for a job once at a funeral parlor when I was probably 17 or 18 because I was deeply interested in going into the funeral business, from which I have no real background. It was kind of funny. I was on a call with the producers that are working, developed the show a few weeks ago, and it's my first time meeting them. And they were like, so, you know, what do you do for work outside of writing? Like, are you involved? I'm like, I'm a professor. Like, no, I've never worked at a funeral parlor, but I have watched every single one of Caitlin Dowdy's YouTube videos because she's incredible. They
She's
Ask
incredible.
a Mortician. Right.
I
all her
love
books,
Ask Mortician. I loved 6 Feet Under.
I was gonna say
Ouch.
6 feet under is how probably most of us think the business works, and we're like, yes, Fisher and Sons, we're there.
And a
Lovely.
little bit the movie My Girl.
Oh, that's right.
Oh.
Oh, that one's we're back to the baby coffins again, pretty much like little
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah,
out.
no, way to bum everyone out, Jennifer.
Sorry, yeah, it's all good.
Mhm.
But so, Lindy, you had the interest and you interviewed, but then they didn't hire you, or you realized what you'd have to do and walked away. You're like,
No, I was deeply interested because I really wanted to study in college. More tissue. I'm having a word problem today. I
What,
know
like
I've used these words before.
morticians? What do we call
Mortuary?
science?
Morgue
Morgue-
science.
More
Funeral
Mortification. Oh, I'm totally
funeral
mortified.
studies.
I'm just
Yeah,
don't mind me.
The dead body thing. I really wanted to. So I had applied for a job. I was probably 18. I probably just graduated to work as on the front end of a funeral parlor to deal with people, the living ones, you know.
The
And I
bereaved.
did not get it because they
Not
didn't, you know, they were like, we want someone who, you know, is
Has
good
better
with
bangs.
people. Yeah,
They're like, this haircut will
exactly.
never
They're like,
will
this
not
is not.
fly in East Texas. No.
They're like, I'm sorry, are you a goth? No.
You want to
And now you're saying that our friend Caitlin has pretty amazing bangs. So I think it is a cool bangs girl situation. But no, I did not get the job. But
So again, this is like
unfortunately-
fantasy. So like Crane
Wish fulfillment.
existing, wish fulfillment. You're like, oh,
it's a little bit of that, you know, and yeah, I really love the funeral business. I think it's actually very beautiful and thoughtful, or at least it can be
It should be,
/
yeah.
should be.
Yeah.
And I, you know, because I mean, it made the joke about everybody having kids when they were like 20. It was very true in my family. I think my grandmother was something like 17. My mother was born. My mother was like 20. You know, so we were young generations. Which mean I had very extended grandparents still living. So I've been to a lot of funerals, is what I'm saying. You know, watching. So I've had a lot of time to be in there and really kind of spend some time in the same one. Because my hometown had only 2. And until probably after high school, they had only 1 that we ever used. So I spent a lot of time there, and it just became like, how sick is it? A home away from home, but
yeah, oddly
you're like, this is my
comforting.
happy place, but not
oddly
really.
comforting because, you know, my family is large or was large, and they didn't really get along. so funerals brought out the worst in my family, but the funeral process was the only time we could get together in a healthy way.
Now, do you know how to make funeral potatoes? Was that something taught to you? Because I feel like that's the other part, is you have to have that after part, the wake.
Funeral potatoes.
Okay, so I learned how to make funeral potatoes, but we make them for like the moms groups. But it's the same kind of thing. Is it a big dish of thing you can bring to the wake or the potluck, whatever? But you can seriously look it up. Funeral potatoes. I'm not making that up. They're delicious. You would like it. You like potatoes. It's like cream of soup and potatoes, and then more potatoes on top, and you bake it.
Who doesn't?
You had me at potatoes.
I know. My cholesterol doesn't like the funeral potatoes because it will be my funeral if I keep eating those potatoes, but they're pretty good.
I don't know if you guys are SNL watchers, but there was a Saturday Night Live episode a few weeks back. I'm trying to remember who the guest was. I think it was Dua Lipa, of all people. But one of the sketches in the show was for like a commercial for large aluminum trays. And it was, it was making a joke about how they're at weddings, they're at funerals, and they always are full of like kind of dry penne alla vodka pasta or something.
I did see that.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's because when you say funeral potatoes, I'm like, I don't know about potatoes, but I can.
But they're probably in that tray.
They're in
that tray. Yeah, the funeral casseroles are a real thing in the South, at least where I'm from. I remember when my grandmother, or my great grandma, my Juicy, when she passed away back, I think that was 2005. Like, we lived on funeral casseroles for, a good while. Yeah, because they keep casseroles keep.
They do. Well, I mean, you got to make sure that it's the kind that's freezable, and then you bring it back out and throw it straight into the oven, and they do the same thing. It's like this, the end of life and beginning of life stages are basically the same, because they do the same thing for new moms, and you load your freezer because you don't really want to be cooking when you're nursing 24/7. And I know it was kind of funny because my eldest was born just after my mom died, and my dad was getting all this food, and I'm like, I'm the one who could use the food. I don't want to cook right now, but he was getting all the chili and all that stuff, and I'm like, can you bring some of that over to my house? Because you don't want to eat any of that. I do.
It's always good to keep a stocked extra freezer. When I was in high school, I worked at a cafe very similar to Jimbo's in Bless Your Heart. And every Thanksgiving we would do pies. It was the only time the bakery really did pie, but anything that didn't sell was up for grabs. And so I'm over there like, pull up the trunk, like throwing everything, load up the potatoes. Yeah. And I would go to my Nana's house, and I would shoot an outdoor fridge in the garage that was for extra soda and beer. And I would be like,
and pie. That's the pie fridge
in there.
I love it.
I grew up across the street from a pie shop. So I'm just going to say, when my mom was pregnant with me, she gained 65 pounds.
I don't think they recommend that anymore.
Not anymore. But I was like, were you just eating pies? And she was like, yeah, your father would go to work and she would like waddle across the street, get a couple pies.
No, wait. Was this the kind of place that did savory pies too? Or she's just sitting there eating key lime and meringue?
No, it was like cherry pie, apple pie, blueberry pie.
That's not good.
Yeah, it was not good.
Like, is this Miss Lovett or Sarah Lee? Like, who?
It was Table Talk Pies, which is a New England company. And I was almost 13 pounds when I was born. So there's that too.
Healthy baby.
Healthy baby.
They
should have 3 chins when they're born.
Ingredients with like the people or the cats, but there's more protein than in the cherry pie. I'm just saying, she wasn't completely wrong there.
So, Lindy, you mentioned the word producers.
Tell us
a little while ago. We don't know what you can tell us, but
I don't know what you can tell you. So I can tell you that.
Just speak in rhyming words. Television show.
I'll just talk like this, and you can't prove that it's me.
I know. No.
How about hand signals and maybe some 3 words? Sounds like
1 word at a time. So the Bless Your Heart has been optioned for television by Rain Entertainment and Boilermaker Entertainment. So they have brought shows that we know and love, like lots of CSI, Superman and Lois. Rain also is behind the people who created like Handmaid's Tale, Yellow Jackets, Ted Lasso. So some really excellent team.
Where this would end up, it's optioned.
Would it be on for a company that would mail you DVDs, or a company that would mail you everything else, like books?
I'm not being cagey. I don't know. So yeah.
So we don't know right now what we need to subscribe to in a year, because that's
I think I subscribe to every single streamer. It's a lot, right? Like,
We did, and we canceled some of them, like at least temporarily. And my kids are like, "When do we get Disney back?" I'm like, I don't know, eventually, because we will eventually get it back again. But it adds
We're
up.
on a
It's not like
cycle of
cable.
where we don't keep some of them until we have like 3 shows we can binge watch in
And
a
then we
30-day
binge.
free trial.
Oh no, we just get it again, and then we cancel it after a while again once we've caught up. But it's like, I wanted to watch something a couple days ago, and he's like, "Oh, that's on Apple." I'm like, "Well, we have Apple." He's like, "No, we don't." I'm like, "I thought we did," but again, you just lose track of them after a while. Like, I thought we were watching that, but I guess we weren't. So if it's in that stage, do we have any character actor people attached to any of these roles yet?
Not that I can share quite yet, but we've been talking to different writers and different showrunners and different talent. So I'm hoping we'll get to announce some fun things soon. But I, for one, cannot wait to see Evan's Women on the screen.
That's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, like, so going into this book, I knew that it had been optioned for TV. So and then after chapter 1, I'm like, this is going to be a great show.
Oh yeah,
like, it really lends itself to like it's so perfect.
Well, and that was something Jennifer just dropped out. She'll be back. That was something Jennifer and I were talking about. You just fell off the planet and came back.
I know, I saw it.
But we were like talking about it, and it was so fun. Like, we were listening. I was listening to it. You were reading it, but to know going in, because there are certain things about it that were like, we know this is the beginning of a series, and we know this is like setting stuff up, and it totally felt like I could totally see this as like 6 Feet Under, or not 6 Feet Under. Dead Until Dark, like that kind of feel where there's
like
so
True
much
Blood meets 6 Feet Under.
It very much is, especially because
it's
of like
Gilmore
Girls. Because but you need that more southern feel that you get in like your True Blood, because none of those are set there. But we know something that's filming now that's set in an area not too far. So I don't know, maybe we can just send over some of the actors who are done with like Hunting Wives, and they can go over and be Evan's Women too. I don't know, 2 for 1.
I know I've got some very strong opinions about who I would love to see play some of Evan's Women, but
you're not allowed to say your strong opinion, because that would be weird when
somebody else gets cast.
I know, I'd be like, sorry, but I think it will be amazing to see. And there's a lot, the Bless Your Heart is a lot of setup for a world. There's so much. So depending on how the show could go, there's so many different, I think, ways you could present it. Like, you could definitely go into like a darker kind of, gothic show, or you could go into some of like the charm and the humor of it, or there's so many different directions, and I don't know which way it'll go, but I think they're all really fun.
They'll need to have this as part of the soundtrack.
Yeah, like the opening credits is just
the butterscotch ASMR. I will tell you, in the sequel to Bless Your Heart, which is called Another Fine Mess and will be out in April of next year, there is a little bit of a butterscotch ASMR, so it'll
oh my gosh.
Oh, yikes.
Sorry, I just got chills because I'm like,
there's a little that crackly noise going on. I'm actually I have all these, so I have this really weird editing process where I will take my manuscript, print it out, and then
rip it into a million pieces.
No, well, yeah, maybe. I'll put these little tabs in there, and so as I'm finishing up my edits, I peel them off and I make a little pile of weird paper scraps.
Paper mache when you're done, and then
like
you
a bird.
And this is what we call the bird's nest.
I love them, and right now I am storing them in this handy dandy little bag, which is actually what my like writing arthritis gloves came in. So
you have writing gloves for arthritis. What do they do? Do they help with blood flow, or what do they do?
They're compression gloves, so they squeeze. I have reached a certain phase in my life where everything hurts every day, all the time.
Yeah, everything hurts and I'm dying. Yeah, go on.
Everything hurts.
Why we're in love with the 90s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because my hands
not everything hurt
back then. Everything felt great, and so I invested in these arthritis gloves because my hands get like when I'm writing, I don't know, they just start to hurt and ache. So these gloves are like compression. They squeeze your hands so that I don't know, magic, I guess, but my hands always feel better when wearing them. But the magic with
do you save forever these little scraps of paper from your editing process, and then I want you to remind yourself about your grandmother's buckets and barrels full of your
So it's a genetic thing. I see.
It's like, this is my giant box of
I
scraps.
see where you're going, Jennifer, and I want to disagree, but I cannot.
Staring you so far into that bus, Lindy.
I'm actually asking, I actually asked on my Facebook page the other day, you probably saw this post, and I'm like, hey, writer friends, what do you do with all your drafts? Because, like, I'm like, I have problems. Right?
Yeah.
Like, what do you do? And everyone's like, who are you saving drafts for? Like, I don't know.
But you can't throw them away. Because I have I open up certain drawers. I'm like, oh, hey, there's that book that I wrote and didn't do anything with. There's 6 copies of it, but I need to keep them.
I'm realizing now that the Nana Lenore apple does not far from the
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to call you out like that. But the ones I saw when you're like, I store them in the bag that my compression gloves came in. I was like, oh, there it is.
Okay, but those gloves are very elder goth because they're like black. Can we get some like rhinestones on there too? You're like, yeah.
I have another pair somewhere that are skeleton hands. So they're fingerless gloves, all of these,
Nice.
but they have like the skin on. Like those are the ones I really love, but they're not as tight and squeezy as these.
Do they say metacarpal on each one?
They should.
With the lunges.
They should. What do you think, Billy? Billy's like,
Billy's like, you ladies are crazy.
But we know he's authorized to help you because he's literally wearing a lanyard right now that identifies him as being part of your production staff. I love it.
he's wearing my lanyard from last year. I was at summer residency for I guest faculty in the MFA program at Western Connecticut State, and last year summer residency was held at the Highlights Foundation, which, speaking as like it was.
I knew somebody who also went to a residency there, and she loved it so much. She's like, "You have to go."
Okay, so did they make you look at a picture and find objects in it?
I wish.
Because that's
feedback. But it was like, when I was asked to go and teach there, I was like, oh my God, like Highlights magazine was such a thing. So I kept my little plastic lanyard and gave it to Billy. I'm like, we got to hold on to this.
And then in there, you can put all the scripts.
I
Highlights,
they'll just be everywhere.
Did any of you guys get pockets, or was that just me? Because I had Pockets for Kids. That was another little kind of a magazine-y book that my grandfather always used to pay for my subscription. It was a Christian thing, so that made Jennifer's would be like, no. Your grandparents were not paying for that for you, but I like that one too. But it was Pockets. I would love to find a bunch of Pockets somewhere. I think that magazine went out of business probably.
I don't know.
Again.
I do reuse my tabs.
Yeah.
Just to close that loop.
Okay. All right.
How do you reuse them?
Primarily
just paper. They're not
cookbooks. But yeah, I use them as bookmarks.
They don't say stuff on them. They're just sticky.
Sometimes, or before a podcast, when I realize I've over applied the lipstick, they become lipstick.
We've all been there where I'm like, oh my gosh, I can see myself.
It's like, ugh. Yeah. I know.
Well, I mean, in our defense today, we had to go dark lipstick because of this right here.
I was, again, trying to match, and then my hair covers half of it, and I just look naked. So I'm like, that's fine, too. Different kind of podcast. The naked one. Also, I'm cold. I should have put on a sweater because it's, actually not a hot day down here.
You're lucky. Well, loves, this was awesome. Lindy, I'm excited about where the series is going. I'm excited about your anthologies that are coming out.
April, we get the next one of these.
Next April, we get.
Okay.
Another
and we'll gladly take an advanced reader copy when you have.
I think that we should be doing a cover reveal pretty soon. I am very excited about the next cover in the series. Definitely has some vibes I'm here for.
Does it just have butterscotches? Because that's what I did for the picture for
there
this.
is not butterscotch, but there are other items I think you'll enjoy. And so that should be coming soon. And then, I think arcs and that sort of thing will be coming not far behind, and we'll be ramping up for some more Evans women. And I know that I've heard some complaints about the certain characters being killed off and everything, but
that was from us.
That was us.
Oh no, I've heard it from more than I wasn't trying to point fingers.
But some people complained about this.
Some people.
But
there are some surprises coming, I think, and more Evans women and other fun things happening in the sequel. So
I can't wait.
And more Crane, which of course
that was going to be my next question. Just please tell me there's more Crane.
Definitely more Crane.
Everyone who's watching this live or on the replay, if you're watching it on the replay, hit subscribe on YouTube. Make sure you go and get Bless Your Heart by Lindy Ryan. You will not be disappointed.
And next week we have Tanya Mitchell, Arsenic Eater's Wife. So sometimes we're every other week. This time we move stuff around. So come back next week. We'll be back.
Yes, next week. And I'll have a little jar of fake arsenic to.
Yeah, don't have real arsenic. That's
it's gonna
bad.
be sugar.
Bye.
Bye.